Okay. So I was just saying that motivation, different people have said different things about it. Motivation is the art of getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. So it's like, it's really a very, it's a way of getting people to do, even if they don't want to do it in the beginning, you get them to want to do it. It's fuel necessary to keep the human engine running. It's the driving force within an individual that impels them to pursue their goals. It can be used to get the work accomplished by others. And Tony Robbins defined motivation as the catalyst that sets the engine of success in motion. So it is crucial for an individual to succeed in life. And without motivation, there's no like human life doesn't run. Next slide. Next slide. Who's doing the slide change? Hello?
Yeah, I'm doing it, but it's taking some time.
Oh, okay.
It has come. Second one has come.
No.
No, huh?
No.
One second.
It has come.
The second one came, I think.
Yeah, second one has come already.
Okay. I'm not able to see it. Okay. Motivation is the... Okay, sorry. So these are the formal, slightly more formal definitions of motivation. The motivation is the processes that arouse, direct, and maintain behavior towards a specific goal. It's a psychological construct that refers to the forces that initiate, energize, direct, and sustain behavior, often towards some specific goal or reward. Motivation is an individual's internal drive or desire to engage in a particular behavior or activity. It is a psychological process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented actions. Next slide. Motivation is the process by which goals are activated and sustained, and it involves arousal, direction, and persistence of behavior. And it's a psychological process that gives behavior purpose and direction. It is what causes us to act, whether it is getting a glass of water to reduce thirst or reading a book to gain knowledge. So basically, you can use any of these formal definitions for your exam purpose. They all have an underlying theme, which is motivation is what we see outside as behavior, but the process is a psychological process, and it is always goal-oriented. These are the three main things that we have to cover. Next slide. So motivation, if you look at just basic types, it can be positive or negative, meaning if it inspires a person to take positive actions and make positive changes, then it becomes a positive type of motivation. And the other way around, negative means it leads a person to take negative actions or make negative changes. So basically, psychology is a study of human behavior. We know that. And we also know it is impacted by numerous factors like biological determinants, psychological factors, social and cultural factors, economic and environmental factors, and external stressors that play a significant role in shaping how individuals interact and respond to their environment. So in these factors, motivation is considered a psychological factor. It impacts human behavior and it decides whether we do something or not. And it represents the desire in somebody to accomplish a task, along with the enthusiasm and determination to complete it and succeed in it. It helps people to take steps and reach their goal. So broadly speaking, we can look at motivation as intrinsic or extrinsic also. So if it originates internally in the form of a person's interests and goals, it is called intrinsic. If it is prompted by external variables like incentives and penalties, then it is called extrinsic. This will become clearer as we look at the different theories of motivation. Next slide. So before we go into the theories, we have to understand what is the basic thing called the motivational cycle. So what is happening in this motivational cycle is it underpins the what we call the drive theory, but it also sort of explains a lot of the overall chapter of motivation. Basically, there is a need which arises, which is essential for survival usually, like say thirst or hunger. Now, this need causes a kind of tension in the body. This leads to a drive. So what is this drive? It is the perceived state of tension. And the need varna odana nammukulla and the tension theriyirudhu. That is called drive. So we are aware that our body is some deficiency is there in the body, and we have the urge to relieve that tension that is caused by that need. So need leads to or compels the drive, and these can be primary or secondary. Primary needs are like thirst, sleep, or sex. Acquired needs are like affection, belonging, status, money, and all that. The drive leads to what is called an arousal. So physiological arousal. What happens is the driving state arouses us and pushes us to perform a behavior which can be goal-oriented. So which leads to the goal-directed behavior. Now, once we achieve that goal, there is a certain amount of relief that happens in the body. The tension reduces and there is a reduction of arousal, and we return to a balanced state, and the cycle ends here until the next need arises again. So this is the motivational cycle. And this is helpful in understanding one of the major theories, and also in understanding a lot of the biogenic motivators that we'll be looking at. Yeah, next.
Can you give an example, ma'am, for this?
This anything like in the body, there is some dehydration, some lessening of something. There's a need for water. When that water need comes now, the thirst when we feel, that becomes our drive. So it arouses us to go pick up that water. Until then, we don't feel like going and picking up that water. If we are not thirsty, we're not going to get up from our seat and go pick up that bottle of water until we need it. So the need leads to the drive, which leads to the arousal of the physiology in the system, which leads to the behavior which we see externally. Internally, it's the drive that is driving us. Once we drink the water and the thirst is satisfied, then that arousal reduces because we are back to physiological balance, and then we are settled until the next need comes, which may be I want to perform well in my exam tomorrow, or it can be a need.
I'll give a live example.
Kudunga.
Actually, when I finished my graduation, so my graduation was on economics. So I'm an IAS an aspirant. So, but my parents gave me only 2 years. Okay, so 2 years, if you're not able to achieve your goal, and you have to listen to what we say. So already, and I took up, but both times I couldn't click the first time I couldn't click the preliminary. Then second time I couldn't click the mains. So 2 years went off like that. So now my parents said, you have to listen to us and, get you married off and all that. So, and then I thought, okay, I have to, do something, because something equivalent to IAS. And so what I did is, what really pushed me is like, I don't want to get married at a very early age. So I thought, okay, let me push further. And IT boom was the top that time, like, that late 90s and early 2000. So I got into computers and, but I'm an economics student. Nothing connected with computers. And people, that competed with me all engineers, computer engineers or electronic engineers, or so some engineers. So I'm a economics student. I've just applied for my MA and all that, and but not completed my MA because I written my AS exams. So what really actually, the drive, the need for a job, I have to escape another 3 years. That's a need. Okay, the drive is, so I have to get this computer job. So there's an arousal, and I set the goal. Okay, next 6 months or 8 months, I have to get this job. So I asked my parents an extra time, and so I set the goal, and I went for an interview. Then I finished my computers and courses and all that. And I went to an interview where 8 people were sitting in the interview. All are engineers except me, and there is only 1 vacancy. And this was an MNC. So somehow, but I said, okay, this goal, I have set this goal and I have to do it. So that arousal was there, and finally, I clicked the job. Out of 8 people, I clicked the job, and I'm the youngest because they already have some 2-3 years experience, but I really performed well in the interview, and so 98% they said I have answered all their questions. So that was my achievement. Okay, and but actually I was not interested in my computers. So that's why I changed my line. Okay, so that's why the reduction of arousal happened. But somehow, I try to achieve the goal.
Yeah, so this is a good example of extrinsic and intrinsic motive.
Yes.
So extrinsic motive is that some incentive is there not to get married, so I did computer. But intrinsically, you didn't value the computer enough to want to continue it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't want it, but I wanted a job, something equivalent, something, well-settled job.
Yeah, that's a good example of how different things can motivate us culturally, economically, environmentally. So we'll go on to the next one. Anybody wants to share?
No, I just want a small clarification. Is this applicable for the theft and other illegal activities?
Applicable for?
The theft and illegal activities.
Illegal activities.
Yeah. Or
It's
theft,
applicable to
robbery.
all behaviors.
Yeah.
All behaviors are an external manifestation of a motivation that is there inside us. So motivation is something you can only infer from the behavior.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. We'll go on. There's a little more theory, then it'll become clearer. Yeah. We already, I said all this. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah. So we saw how the cycle ended there, and then the next need comes. Then there are also other things that also contribute to drive, that is incentives, which attract or lure people into action and behavior. These become external stimuli, like rewards from the environment. Then there is one more factor called instinct, which is mostly responsible for sexual behavior and behavior related to territorial protection. This cannot come under the just simple drive theory la varadu. So, and these are mostly linked to aggression, and this will be covered more in the next 2 chapters by Dr. Hema. We'll also cover some instinct theory as we go along. Yeah, next. So, if you look at motives, like what motivates us, they can be classified basically into physiological and psychological. So physiological is basically biogenic, means it is generated from the biology. It is from our body. Basically, we go back to our old concept of homeostasis. when there is a departure from the balanced physiological state of the body, it arouses various biological motives to restore that balance. Like same examples, there is a lack of food, the organism needs food, it will feel hungry, and there's a drive to go look for food. Which is why some of these motives are also, they're so part of us that we don't have to really learn it. Like instinctually, a baby will look for the mother's breast when it's born. Nobody teaches it. Or like a lot of instincts that that most actually human beings have lost some of these primary drives because we are so conditioned by our upbringing. But most animals will figure out, like these experiments with rats, where they will keep food at the end of it and they will see how fast they run to the food if they have been starved for 1 week versus they have not been starved. So yeah, so these are biogenic drives: thirst, sleep, sex, food, all these things. Then you have psychological motives. Psychological motives are again divided into two: sociogenic and psychogenic. Okay, so just to go back, biogenic, I just needed to say a couple more things. They don't arise because of learning, and they are innate. Yeah, they tend to persist throughout one's life and are often, oh yeah, sorry, I got confused. So biogenic, we finished. So if you look at sociogenic motives, they are more complex as they are extrinsic needs that are learned in social groups. So like with peers, with family members where we grow up, these needs vary from person to person, and they depend on the personality type also. So there are many kinds of social motives, and it is very difficult to suggest which is more important or which is least important. And it's also very difficult to measure these motives. So example is achievement motivation is a sociogenic motive. There are, it refers to the need to achieve or accomplish on a task and surpass other people, the need to come first in class, for instance. Then there is affiliation motivation, which implies the need to make friends and seek cooperation with others. So yeah, you can actually go to the next slide. So this we saw examples of biogenic motives. Then the next slide. Next slide. This we saw. Yeah, so we were looking at achievement motivation, affiliation motivation. Then there is an, so affiliation motivation is a need to be part of a group and be liked by other people. So people high on affiliation motivation will like tend to people please. Then you have the aggression motive. So it refers to the need to fight and take revenge, to belittle somebody, to curse somebody, to put somebody else down, those kind of things. Then you have a nurturance motive, which all comes under sociogenic, where the need to take care of others or to help others when they are in a problem or they are sick. Then you have dominance motives, which are displayed when a person tries to control or influence the other person to become a leader. Some people are high on that. Then you have a power motive, which is the need to gain power or do things that make a person feel strong and powerful. So these are all sociogenic motives. Then we come to psychogenic motives. So now psychogenic motives are called general motives, and they do not arise because of learning, nor do they arise because of homeostatic imbalance like biogenic motives. They are a different class of their own. They are innate, means we are born with it. They tend to persist throughout one's life and are often very difficult to satisfy. So these are motive to explore the environment. I'll tell you which slide, ma'am. Psychogenic motives is slide number 12. So one is to explore the environment is a very innate psychogenic motive. The motive to master challenges and deal with difficulties by being competent is something innately born with. And then the motive for self-actualization, that is by doing what is one is capable of doing to the best of our ability. So these are the motives in like one bag. We'll go to the next. So all these motives can again be classified into primary motives and secondary motives. So primary motivation can basically be called as basic motivation and includes needs related to hunger, thirst, sleep, sex, avoidance of pain, and so on. So mostly biogenic. They also influence an individual's behavior at a basic level, like some of the psychogenic motives. And these needs are also related to the basic need for preservation of the self. Secondary motivation can be termed as learned motivation. And this changes from one person to another. They are also related to the priorities of each person and the values of each person. So for instance, it is universal need for everybody to eat. But how I'm going to, what motivates me to say earn so much money versus a different kind of job, this job or that job, or this much is enough for me, or for somebody else that much may not be enough, or some people are motivated for recognition. So all these kinds of things also ultimately lead to having a job, earning money, and finally eating, which is the primary motive. But these are all secondary motives which lead up to the primary motive. Yeah, next. Next slide. Slide. Can everybody see the next slide? Is it just my computer that's slow?
Everyone got the same problem?
You've already gone to the next slide, is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. It wasn't showing up for me. Now it's come. Okay. Basically, theories of motivation, there are many theories. And while each of them offers a unique perspective and focuses on one aspect of motivation, we saw so many different kinds of motivation, right? So a lot of these theories end up focusing on one or the other aspect. But as students of psychology, we need to understand all of them, because for me, this is my own understanding that tomorrow when a client is presenting with, say, low motivation, we can see which aspect is missing and apply the relevant theory to understand where the client is coming from holistically. So in a sense, we need to integrate the theories to see what the position of the client is. So this is where I think it's practically applicable in our profession. So the theories can be divided into content theories and process theories. So content theories are like, why are we motivated? What needs are getting fulfilled? This is what content theories explain. Examples are Maslow's hierarchy of needs, instinct theory, arousal or optimal level theory, drive reduction theory. Now, the examples I've given in this slide are the only things that have in the syllabus, that is in the textbook. There are so many more theories of motivation which I've not included here because they have not asked specifically and it's not there in the book. So these are the content. So in number syllabus theories, I have divided into content and process for your clarification. The second is process theory, which is not about what are the needs that are getting fulfilled, but how are we getting motivated? The process of motivation in our brain. So the examples for this are incentive theory, expectancy theory, which is not in the syllabus, and opponent process theory. Yeah, next. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so we'll go on to the first one, which is called instinct theory. This is so if they're asking you a question like explain theories of motivation according to evolutionary perspective, then you'll have to write about the instinct theory. So William McDougall says that instinct has 3 characteristics. It is unlearned, it is uniform in expression, and it is universal in all this in all the members of that species. So basically, it is the only theory which is based purely in biology. And according to this theory, an instinct which drives us to certain behaviors is inborn, unlearned, and unchanging. Because every time we will exhibit the same behavior. Next slide. So this Bernie and Teven gave some more extra criteria for instinctual behavior. That is, it's automatic, it is irresistible, which means even if we want to stop it, we can't stop it. It shows up at a particular developmental stage in that species for all the members. It's triggered by an environmental occurrence. It occurs in all members of the species, which is the earlier man who said universal. It's correlated to that. Then unmodifiable, which is what he told, uniform in expression. And it does not require training. Nobody has to teach you how to do it, to do that behavior. So it is unlearned. So what are examples of this? Can somebody say? Instincts. Behaviors which represent instincts in us.
We can say the best example we can say is the motherhood.
Yes, sure. To protect our child, yes, that's an instinct.
Even in animals, we find this instinct because nobody teaches, these animals. Nobody train the animals, but the way they adjust to the environment, all that, it's truly unbelievable.
Absolutely. So a lot of our biological behaviors, which is why this is an evolutionary perspective, because if you look at our other motivations, right, instinct for sexual behavior to mate and propagate the species, or motivation to eat, or quench our thirst, protect our child, ultimately they all go to one basic instinct, which is the instinct to survive.
Correct.
Which is why it is called the evolutionary perspective of motivation. So yeah, that's it about instinct theory. Next. So what are the limitations of this theory? So Abraham Maslow says that human beings have overridden their instincts, which is also true. One of our instincts is to be alert to any danger around us. But I think the cell phone has completely overridden our instincts. Because somebody is looking at their phone, they won't even know if somebody's crossed them in a room. So a lot of our instincts, because of cultural conditioning and also the way we have not adapted to the environment as much as we have adapted the environment to our needs. Some of these instincts have been overridden. Okay, this is my understanding of that statement by Maslow. And so that is one limitation. The second limitation is there are actually examples of some members of species that don't exhibit some of these instincts. For example, there are certain mothers who don't exhibit that nurturance towards their child so naturally like most mothers. And another example is there was some study, I was reading this in Morgan and King, done on sexual instinct in primates. And if they are raised in isolation and then exposed to a member of the opposite sex, they need to sort of learn to mate in some sense. So in higher primates, they have found that it's not always true that these instincts are so strong. Sometimes they are not present. And personality can also change instincts. Learning can change instincts. Socialization can change instincts. For instance, we may be born, like dogs have a aggressive need to protect their territory. We were also probably like that, but socialization can make somebody who's a slightly more adjusting personality to not be so protective of their territory. Similarly, jealousy, in the madri, these kinds of emotions, which can lead to very instinctual behavior in human beings, can also be changed based on our culture, the way we are brought up, our personality, what we are told to do, not to do, all these kinds of things. So these are the limitations of the instinct theory. Yeah, next slide. So the next one is the humanistic theories, which is mainly our Abraham Maslow. So he's saying that it's not just biology, but there are also cognitive reasons for motivation. We have a free will and aspiration to be the best version of ourselves. That we are not slaves to our instinctual drives, is what he's saying. So it's not like just because we are really hungry, if we are standing in front of one buffet, we're not going to make a beeline for the queue and, pile our plate with food. We'll sort of wait till everybody sort of starts eating before we start eating. So, so we can conquer our instinctual drives, and free will can operate. And also what he's saying is, when basic needs are met, then we aspire to higher needs, and ultimately for self-actualization. So the needs are we all know the pyramid, the needs are in a pyramid, and according to him, the lower needs need to be satisfied first for us to be able to even aspire to higher needs. If basic food, water, sleep, shelter and all are not satisfied, we are not going to be worried about friendship and intimacy and connection and all that. Our first needs are basic needs. Then it is security. Do we have a home? Do we have a safe shelter? Do we have employment, resources, property? When all these basic needs are secured, then we move on to love and belonging, making friends, having a family, a sense of connection. When these needs are met, then we can move on to esteem needs. This is according to Maslow. So the need for recognition, the need for self-esteem, the need for status, respect, freedom. So these needs are what motivates human beings to find agency and competence. So the need to feel I'm good at this, or I can change my future. Nobody can force me to do anything I don't want. This kind of agency we are able to find. This agency we cannot find if we are under the poverty line and we have to take any job we need to get. And then finally, the needs that we are so fulfilled that there is a desire to grow, and to grow in many ways, intellectually, culturally, spiritually, to carve my own identity in this world. So, and as we grow, then our problem solving gets better and better. But again, for this to happen, the bottom of the pyramid needs to be there. Otherwise, the top is not going to happen. So this is the Maslow's theory of needs, and what motivates us to do different things. Next slide. Yeah, before the next slide, yeah, just leave it there. So before we move on, there is one more theory which I haven't put down because it's not in the syllabus. It's called Alderfer's ERG theory, which is basically existence, relatedness, and growth, which is nothing but same as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, except that he has combined two and made it into one. Instead of 5 levels, he has put only 3 levels. Existence is basically your physiological and safety needs. Then relatedness is basically the love and belonging needs of Maslow. And growth is like the competence, esteem, and self-actualization needs. So this particular model is more used, like I think in organizational psychology, to enhance workplace motivation, to increase productivity and all that. So now we go to the next theory, which is the drive theory. It's also called the drive reduction model, Now, you all remember that circle, that motivational cycle, right? So it's based on that. Clark L. Hull gave the name drive for the tension that one feels when there is something lacking in the body. So the tension is basically what we call drive. And then we have homeostasis, which is an important definition here. It's come in the exam. So there are many definitions. I've put out a basic one. The process by which all organisms work to maintain physiological equilibrium or balance around an optimal set point for themselves. There is an average for the species, but there is also each individual's balance. So we are always trying to keep our body in homeostasis. And our primary physiological needs drive us to satisfy those needs. For example, again, thirst, we are driven to drink water. Hungry, we are driven to eat food. The need for species survival, we are driven to mate with an attractive partner. I mean, attractive is a subjective word here, who that person finds attractive. Now, thus, whenever there is any deviation from the ideal state or the set point, then the adjustments will be made by the body to re-establish the balanced state or achieve that balanced set point. So restoring balance is the goal here. Homeostasis helps to operate the needs related to food, water, sleep, body temperature, and so on. So now drive theory also combines the biology of human drives with motivation, learning, reinforcement, and habit formation. It is known as the push theory of motivation. One sec. So these factors push us to form a habit, form a behavior, learn how to satisfy our needs, and so on. So, yeah, next slide. Okay, who remembers cognitive dissonance from semester 1? Festinger's cognitive dissonance we all studied, remember? Basically, when two thoughts are in conflict or our behavior is in conflict with our belief, or we have two different beliefs which are inconsistent. So we get into what is called cognitive dissonance. Now, cognitive dissonance is also a kind of tension because it is very hard for the brain to hold both inconsistent thoughts or beliefs and behaviors together in the same place. Can somebody give some examples of this?
Yeah, when we say some lie to others, we will have cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, when we lie, sure. Yeah. When we lie and we have a belief that we are truthful, then there is definitely cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
It mostly occurs for the students, whether to they enjoy life or study.
Yeah. I believe I'm a good student. I must do well in my exam, but then I don't feel like attending class and I bunk class. Yes.
Yeah.
Cognitive dissonance. Every time, and that famous example from the book where if the person is a smoker and then they get to know that their aunt died of lung cancer, then how do they put the two together? Like, how do they continue to smoke? So either they will change their belief or they will change their behavior. So that becomes the motivating factor. So this is the connection. So there is a tension that arises in the body because of the inconsistency between your beliefs or the new information you've got, or your behavior and your thought. And then you'll have to change one or the other to restore the balance in the mind. So this is like Pakka Sem 1 portions, if you remember. So this tension that arises from this state is what is called a negative drive state, basically an absence of harmony. And this motivates change or modification in either my belief or thought or behavior. Someone has to change to align with the others. Yeah, next. Next, we will look at what are the limitations of the drive theory. There is no explanation for behaviors that stem from the following factors, which is curiosity, secondary needs and motives, drives that maintain arousal to reach goals. So, for instance, in the drive theory, once you are aroused and the goal is achieved, arousal comes down. There is relief. So, there is no more motivation to continue that behavior. But there are certain behaviors which, even after you're aroused, you keep doing. You don't stop. For instance, enjoying a roller coaster ride. It gives you great pleasure, and it's not something like, okay, I'll stop now. I'll happily go for another ride. Or riding the bike in full speed. These kind of thrill-seeking behaviors. And then curiosity to learn. It's not like I've learned this, so I'm satisfied and I don't want to learn anything more. That curiosity keeps maintaining. There is no relief really. So drive theory doesn't explain these kinds of phenomena, which is why we have other process theories coming up. Next slide. Okay, so before that, so all these are content theories, okay? So this last one, the content theory, is what is called the optimal arousal theory. Now, it was discussed under drive reduction model that the model cannot be applied to explain behavior related to curiosity or behavior that seeks a thrill. In such cases, the optimal arousal model can be used. So this model is basically based on the work carried out by this year and Dodson in 1908. They came up with one law which says that we function best when we are moderately aroused or energized, and both very low or very high arousal leads to poor performance. This is their law. Everybody got it? I can show you a graph also if you want. Basically, we need a certain of arousal. Too much or too less, we can't. Yeah, if you look at this graph, if we are not aroused at all, we are in boredom or apathy, or we are sleeping. If we are highly aroused, then we are, sorry, I'm coughing, one second. If we are highly aroused, then we are in high anxiety and we can't really perform well. So there is an optimal level for each of us, which varies individually, which helps us to perform our best and therefore motivate us to reach our goal. So this is basically the relationship between arousal level and performance. Now, one example I'll tell you. Suppose there is a test coming up and I'm very excited about it. It'll keep me engaged and performance will go up. But if I'm so badly prepared that I am afraid of the test and I'm nervous, then I may not do so well in the test. Or if I don't care about that test at all, which is very low arousal, then I may not do well in the test either. So the optimum level of excitement and nervousness needs to be there for me to perform my best in that test. So each of us has our own sweet spot in terms of what makes us perform our best and motivates us to put in the work to reach our goal. Below or above that, motivation is hampered and performance is not.
This mostly happens in corporate,
In
Mostly this kind of attitude happens in corporate. When the newcomers, they come, they have a high anxiety about the work, and they try to poke in their nose and try to learn this and that and all that, and slowly the boredom starts. Because of high anxiety, they come back to this boredom. So it's better to have slowly learn and perform. That kind of optimal level, only people are with the attitude of learning slowly and steadily can do this optimal level of
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that is really works actually.
Actually, many of these theories are mainly used in organizational psychology.
Yes.
How to motivate and how to keep people performing their best and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just want to give like a personal reflection for all of you to do here. So basically, when we are having a very low level of arousal, sometimes we motivate ourselves by arousing ourselves. Meaning, just go to the next slide. I may go for a run, or I may do some cleaning up. I'll put on some music and clean up something in my house because I need something to go back. Yeah, I need something to motivate me to do some other work that I don't feel like doing. And similarly, if I'm really highly charged, I need something to wind down. Like I may lie down and I may not be able to go to sleep easily, and I may need to read a book or do some puzzle or something before I calm down and go to sleep. So it'll be interesting for each of us to reflect on what do you do when you're feeling a very low level of arousal and you need to sort of get to that optimum level, or what do you do that when your arousal levels are too high and you need to wind down? Like, yeah, can we have some personal sharings here just to
So one of the things I do when I want to motivate myself, particularly for physical tasks, is I have a set playlist of music that there are specific songs with specific lyrics, specific artists that get me to a state where I'm motivated to tackle something that's a physically demanding task. Conversely, in terms of relaxing, reading a book, particularly something that's boring and long and very wordy, full of lots of complicated words that eventually will, sometimes will put you to sleep. But it kind of, or it's very simple, read a children's book. That's another one that I use.
Interesting. Yeah, I found myself before the exam getting so highly nervous and wound up about it that the only way to calm myself down was to shut the book and do some other task unrelated to the exam. So otherwise, I would have been so wound up and so nervous that I would have probably forgotten what I had studied itself for the exam. So yeah. Any other sharings? If there are
For
none,
example, like if we feel very tensed or like we have some botherings in our mind, like we just go eat some favorite food or something, like we go, like while eating our favorite food, like we just like calm down our arousals and
Yeah. Yeah, actually, this links up to the next topic, which will come under biogenic motives. Like, why do some people go eat even if they're not hungry? So, what else does that food do to the nervous system to help calm it down? So, like what people call cravings or stress eating, or those. Yeah, it'll probably come tomorrow in Dr. Hema's class. Yeah. Shall I move on? So, okay. So now we go to, so these are all content theories, okay, which are largely rooted in biology, but also in Maslow, we saw biology, also cognition, also, yeah, that's a bit of a mix. Now, incentive theories is one of the process theories, and they are described as pull theories. And that drive theory is a push theory. This is a pull theory. Basically, it is pulling you towards something. So the theory states that motivation is a result of a desire to achieve external rewards or incentives. So we have numerous examples of these, right? So working to earn money, studying to pass an exam, working extra hours to earn a bonus. So what does this remind you all of? It directly links to one chapter we did in semester 1. I think I put everybody to sleep.
It is very difficult to recall what chapter we read in first semester.
No, just this concept you must remind you of something. To achieve an external reward or an incentive.
That motivation theory, right? That continuum.
Conditioning or something.
Conditioning, correct. Operant conditioning.
Operant.
Correct. So 2 times they have asked to talk about behaviorism in motivation.
We can call it an eccentric motivation also, right?
Correct. This is extrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So behaviors are influenced by external motivators and triggers or outside incentives. Incentives are what motivate us to behave. It's not a drive. It's not a need inside. It's not like, no. There is some reason I want to do something because I'm getting something from outside, or I want to avoid punishment. So yeah, incentives are positive and negative. So basically operant conditioning. Yeah. So when they ask you to describe, I think behaviorism in motivation, we're basically focusing on incentive theory. This is my understanding, because I went through the question papers. This was the only connection I could make. If any of you have any other perspective on this, please offer it up to the group.
Yeah, I will give an example. Actually, push and pull, we use it for even in schools and colleges. A push is very easy task to do. You motivate the person, you give them some goals, or you drive towards that goal. So push is you even pushing a person, you can easily do it. Like you just a little tap also, somebody you can just push them forward. Actually is very, but pulling a person out, because they'll be overthinking stage, or they'll be they don't have a self motivation. So that kind of people, pulling is very difficult. So you have to have the difference. So you need to really pull them up. So when you pull them, it's very difficult. So unless and until you have incentives or rewards and give them certain things that really attracts them, then only you can pull them.
Yeah.
So pulling is difficult, pushing is easy. So you can just remember this.
Perfect. So yeah, so we'll just go on to a couple of examples quickly, and then we're almost done. Some positive incentives. I think this is we know all this stuff. So these are rewards or reinforcements. So the word reinforcement, if you remember, then you will remember operant conditioning, behaviorism from our first semester, and that is how it's related to motivation here. So we learn these behaviors through operant conditioning. That is, different reinforcers are given to repeat these behaviors. Okay, that will be the motivator, like praise, like money, marks, recognition. One small child, you say, you go shut the door and come, I will give you chocolate. So like that. It's not like you're teaching the child to shut the door because they need to learn how to shut the door, but because they will get a chocolate at the end of it. So again, the push and pull, like what ma'am was saying. Yeah, next one is negative incentives. These are just plain opposite of rewards, and they're offered when positive incentives do not work. So only if the positive incentive is not working, we give the negative incentive, which is like failing a student or a suspension or taking away a privilege from a teenager or taking away an award for something done bad, whatever. So these are negative incentives which motivate a person not to do a particular kind of behavior or to do a particular kind of behavior. Yeah, next. Next. So we will look at what is the application of the incentive theory and the limitation. It's very useful. Next slide. Like ma'am was saying, it is very useful and applicable in students and learners mainly, and in organizations to keep employees motivated to increase productivity. Here, extrinsic motivators may help boost productivity, complete an assignment in the short term. That is the pull. But intrinsic factors, the push factor, which is seeing the value in what we need to do, actually is more long term. It can be sustained for longer and it has longer term benefits. Yeah, next. Next. We'll move on to the process theories now. So there are only two main theories that they have given in the syllabus. One is this operant process theory, which was suggested by this Richard Solomon. And basically, he's saying that emotions can be viewed as pairs of opposites. When one emotion is suppressed, then the opposite is experienced, or the other way around. When one emotion is experienced, the opposite of that pair is suppressed. So this emotional state is linked to motivation. Now, this all sounds very woo-woo, but I will give you an example which is easy to understand. For instance, fear may motivate a person who is scared of dogs to freeze and not move. So imagine I come across a dog, I'm scared of dogs, I'm afraid, and so fear will make me just freeze there and not even take one more step forward. Suppose I realize the dog is not aggressive. Then the opposite of fear starts to flood through my body as an emotion, which is relief. And as I feel relief, the opposite of fear, then that may motivate me to just ignore the dog and keep taking the next step forward on the road. Or if I'm so adventurous and I feel like, the dog is actually friendly, I may go and pet it. But this is governed by the emotion that my body is feeling. So this is about opponent process theory and motivation. That's all you need to know about this. Application we'll see. Yeah, next. So two things that we can use this theory to understand. One is substance abuse disorders, where so what happens with substance abuse is that first when they use the drug, they will have an initial emotion of pleasure. Now, as the pleasure wears off, according to opponent process, the opposite emotion replaces that first emotion, right? The opposite one. So you have negative emotions that replace that pleasure, which is associated with what is called withdrawal from that drug. So a user may end up taking a drug not to experience pleasure per se, but to avoid the negative emotions associated with not taking the drug. Is that clear what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this is, I mean, there is numerous, I mean, I would suggest reading Gabor Mate if you're interested in substance abuse. He's like the living legend of understanding addictions. And there are so many factors that he talks about that go into why a person becomes addicted to any particular substance. Now we don't call it addiction, it's called substance abuse disorder. But this is one of the applications of the open-end process theory in understanding what is happening in substance abuse. Then the other application is in explaining thrill-seeking behaviors, like roller coasters and bungee jumping. So first time I go bungee jumping, I'm like completely like, I'm in extreme fear. Then when I'm landing, I'm having like complete relief and pleasure. So much so that once I experience that opposite, which is relief and pleasure, I want to do it again. And when I land, before I jump, this time I'm not as scared as the first time. So until the fear part comes down and it's only pleasure that remains. And so that motivates me to keep going back to something that is adventurous, and initially that induced fear in me. Yeah, this is that clear, that example?
Yes.
So that's it in terms of the syllabus. But in my reading up, I found that a lot of authors go on talking about this two-factor theory. So I just put it down, basic facts, because one instinct told me, what if they ask this in the exam? So this Herzberg's two-factor theory, again, it's more in terms of organizational psychology. So it's anyway useful. It's put forward by Frederick Herzberg. He says that there are two main factors that give rise to satisfaction and dissatisfaction, and that is hygiene factors and motivational factors. So what he's saying is that hygiene factors determine the level of dissatisfaction in a person. And to actually experience satisfaction, you need the motivational factors. Yeah, so just go to the next slide. Next slide. Basically, he talks about satisfaction and dissatisfaction as two extremes. Next slide. Yeah, so hygiene factors are like adequate workload and working conditions, salary, a good relationship with the supervisor, peers, and subordinates, security. These are all hygiene factors. And if there is these factors determine just go to the next slide. These factors determine the level of dissatisfaction, which means if these are proper, then there is less or low dissatisfaction. But that doesn't mean that you are satisfied. The opposite of that is experience of satisfaction, comes from other motivational factors like your incentives, high salary, bonuses, achievement, promotion, recognition, all of the other secondary kind of motives. Yeah, so that's it with regard to the theory. Just to quickly summarize what we did today, can you go to the next slide, please? We looked at the definitions of motivation. We looked at what is called the motivational cycle. And then we looked at types like intrinsic, extrinsic, primary, secondary. And then we looked at different kinds of motives, which are biogenic and sociogenic and psychogenic. These will be covered by Dr. Hema over the next 2 classes. So I didn't go into much detail because anyway, they will be detailing over the next 2 days. Then you have theories which are either content theories, which is the why of motivation, and process theories, which is the how of motivation. And then we looked at some theories in detail. Now, from the exam point of view, can you go to the next slide? This is what is being asked from this chapter. It's very simple. You just need to learn the definition. The couple of other things are like behaviorism they've asked. So I'm assuming it's about the incentive theory. Optimal arousal, we learned that theory. Homeostasis, that definition. Then 6 marks, they have asked Maslow's hierarchy, operant process theory, drive theory. So just learn of the, and behaviorist theories, they have asked 2 types. So again, here I've put incentive theories. If anybody has any information other than what I've put down, please correct me or whatever. In terms of 10 marks, they keep asking that same question, theories of motivation, either detail it or enumerate or clarify or whatever. So, and then, or they have asked once any 2 theories of motivation. Once they have asked for 10 marks instinct theory. So these are the questions that have come so far. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Any questions?
Excellent, ma'am. You've covered everything,
Thank you.
including the semester 1.
No, I just made the connections as I was reading. So
Yeah, correct.
yeah. So I read a couple of really good articles as resources. I've put that down in the last slide. So if people want to go do their own reading up, they can refer to those
Yeah.
links I've provided.
So that one sentence I just want to explain this. Emotions also leads to motivation. When you say emotions, sometimes when you're really down or you're filled with some negative emotions, these memories, the positive memories, the happy memories actually will help you to get back to the positivity. So when you're connected emotionally with those memories, so that emotions really can change your from your negative perspective to a positive perspective aspect also, we can say, or a positive effect. So that's how we know motivation is also connected to emotions. So this one point you can remember because we did this in memories also.
Super. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Emma.
I hope I didn't put everybody to sleep.
And ma'am, you have to stop recording.
Oh, sorry.